Hi, welcome out to the channel. Today we're going to talk with one of my clients, Anne Jeanette, and we're going to talk about how Chinese nutritional therapy can help with things like Crohn's, IBS, constipation, diarrhea, cholecystitis, pancreatitis, how Chinese nutritional therapy can help you get those things under control. One of the things that's going to be tough about all these types of digestive issues is they've been going on for a long time and everybody's unique. If you're suffering from these issues, you might notice when you talk with other people, their symptoms are kind of similar, but how they handle it is really different. And that's because each of us is a unique individual. And that is the magic of East Asian medicine, because you target the individual. So as you watch through this video and hear some of the feedback, maybe check out some of the other videos of some of the other clients. Check out my YouTube channel, see some of the things that you can do with that. Check out my Facebook page where you can see a lot more clients talking about what kind of really unique results they can get with East Asian medicine. And if you want to take the next step, if you want to reach out, I'll have a link at the end of this video. Anne Jeanette, thank you so much for coming out and chatting with me today. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit because we've been working on Chinese nutritional therapy, which is a little bit different than dieting and a little bit different than being restrictive in your food choices. So I wanted to know what first made you think about coming into East Asian medicine for your health concerns?
Western medicine was failing me utterly regarding some very serious digestive issues.
So when you had just moved out here, right?
Yeah.
You guys had just moved out here, but there was a couple other things that were going on too at the same time that was causing a lot of stress in your life, besides just moving.
I came out here, I already had, it was turned out to be a gallbladder issue, and I was having a terrible, terrible time with gallbladder issues and a lot of work stress in general. And then my eldest cat passed away, and he was my first big death in the, I'd lost my father when I was 22, but for my little immediate ICU everyday family now, he was my first one, and he was my baby. And then my mom wound up having cancer, which does not run in our family at all, but she lived somewhere that, unbeknownst to me, they processed uranium.
Wow.
That was exciting. Yeah.
Wow.
So she came out here sick with cancer. This was 2 years after I moved out here. And that March is when the whole gallbladder thing blew up, and I had to go to the hospital. And then after that, my mom passed, my other cat passed, my bird, who was my little brother, passed away. A lot of animals. I'm an only child, so a lot of animal siblings and children in the family. So yeah, I had a huge amount of loss.
You had been, for a period of years, been going through a lot of stress, and stress just destroys our digestion.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you came in, you were feeling gallbladder pain, you were having issues with constipation. What were some of the other things that was going on at that time?
I had constant stabbing pain in my stomach, and I was stress-wise, it seems odd. I feel like I should have been in significantly more stress than I was, but I think I was significantly weaker and couldn't take it anymore. And so just all of the 2020, I'm just going to throw 2020 out there as a major stressor. And 2021 was not much of an improvement, or wasn't an, it was not better. Yep. So just the last 2 years of blah. And I think I couldn't take it anymore. It was, so I wasn't able. Moving out here was very stressful, because we had to uproot our whole lives after 9.5 years in the same place. And it was wonderful to come here, but the physical stress of moving. I think I never recovered from that. And so I had stabbing pains in my stomach. And I had, as you mentioned, the constipation, and my digestive tract would take turns as to whether my abdomen would swell out until I was, 2 sizes bigger than normal, which is really distressing. And I was gaining weight, and I've done this once before, right before I figured out that gluten was my worst enemy. I was gaining weight and not eating well enough, both at the same time. So the calories in did not reflect the amount of weight I was putting on, which is why when you started helping me, I suddenly dumped a bunch of weight. It was all toxins flushing out of my system.
It's really amazing, but you're right. So you had all these stressors, and then on top of that, the pandemic comes in, and I'm sorry for everybody. That was an insane stressor. And, hopefully it's starting to get more mild. I can tell you, did you have heartburn, or were you getting nauseous or vomiting at all?
Off and on heartburn. You'd be surprised how little of that. Nausea and vomiting have been my call sign since 2005 or so. So, a lot of people, it comes out in their lower digestive, not me. It's always my upper digestive tract. The food never gets that far.
Okay. And what did you have, headaches or a lot of fatigue?
Oh yeah. I was swamped with it.
What about sleeping?
I actually, so I technically I was sleeping very well. I laid my head down, and unless there was a really strange noise in the night of the, hey, what's going on variety, which we're in the sticks, we don't get much of that, but I didn't wake up much. But in the morning, it felt like I hadn't slept.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yes.
I wasn't insomniac. I've been insomniac in the past, and this was not it. This was just not enough sleep in the world.
Well, so you came in and we started focusing, instead of jumping to herbs and that, one of the things that I like focusing on is teaching people to fish instead of fishing for them. And, we definitely can use herbs, because there's always a place for that in Chinese medicine and East Asian medicine. But what we did is we focused really hard on foods from a Chinese medicine perspective.
Yes.
And you were really good about it. You would take those suggestions and you would run with it. How did that feel for you? How did you notice those changes?
The first word I want to say when you ask me how I feel about it is empowered. So, I've been to allopathic doctors. I won't say Western medicine, because there actually is a really good herbal and holistic tradition in Western medicine. Just nobody pays attention to it anymore. But allopathic doctors have literally, when I was 25, complaining of significant digestive problems, they told me, we think you're depressed. So they were telling me I was crazy. And then the day I turned 40, oh no, you're just old. I'm thinking to myself, gee, most people in my family get on up towards 90 something. So no, got more than half my life in front of me. I'm not old. So I felt very empowered by that, by eat these foods instead. That's something I've always liked about TCM, is the homework. It's not just the doctor does for me. The doctor helps me and then says, okay, do all of these other things. And you did that too. I can give you the acupuncture and it will start you on your way, but then do these other things and you can carry that torch forward. And so very empowering. And how long have we been doing this now? 5 or 6 weeks. I've dropped 2 dress sizes. I'm not joking.
Wow. Dress sizes? Are you kidding?
I'm not. I'm not joking at all. And that's not the good news. I wasn't even looking to lose weight. I didn't care about my weight. I just wanted to feel good. And it's taking some time, but I expect that, because this is actual healing. This is not somebody covering up a symptom. This is actual healing. Healing takes time. And I think a lot of people, the only time they ever really experience real healing is when they go through a grieving process, and you're up and down and up and down and up and down. but the waves get smaller as you go. And that's what's been happening for me so far. And it's getting better. It just is. It's getting better, and it's slow and steady wins the race, but it's worth waiting for, and it's worth taking the time. And the acupuncture you gave me helped me to move in that direction. I wanted to move in that direction, but I couldn't. I was blocked. Yeah. And so you helped open up things so that I could follow these rules. And the first thing you did, you took the pain away that felt like hunger.
Yes. Yeah. That ripped your insides out.
That was huge. Then I could tell when I'm actually hungry and when my body says, please don't put anything in here. And being able to do that has opened it up. And so I'm able to follow these suggestions that you've given me, which are not difficult suggestions. And my favorite part is, at no point did you tell me to eat something that I don't like. Right. That's useful.
Right. Well, and we would talk through it, and we would talk about food suggestions, and I go, well, what do you think about this? And you'd go, well, that one doesn't really thrill me. That's really important to listen to in Chinese medicine, because food doesn't thrill you because it doesn't agree with you.
Yeah.
If it agreed with you, you'd be like, yeah, first one in.
But that's what I've been able to do, is you help me identify those foods, eat root vegetables, eat these kind of fruits, and lay off of this. And I can think, well, I can lay off of that for a while. That's not a big deal. You didn't take away like some major food group that I'm like, wait, what?
Right. I like that one.
Yeah. And so then I was able to come back and say, well, I don't like these vegetables, but these vegetables over here, and more than just one. My body's like, yeah, you put that on the grocery list. Okay, we'll eat that. It makes it easy to do.
The other thing is, when you start eating foods that your body can actually digest and that actually does address your specific health issues, like the pain, the nausea, that it's addressing those things, and you start healing yourself, you can actually start hearing yourself again.
Yes.
And I think it was like the second visit you came in and you said, you know what? I realized I don't like eating until this time. Mm-hmm. You started hearing yourself again.
Yes. And I've gone from dreading eating every day because the first meal of the day was always the worst meal of the day. And it would hurt me for hours, not a joke, many hours. Yeah. And it was usually sometime in the evening before I started even remotely feeling good. And sometimes close to bedtime before I started feeling good. And then I'd wake up with that pain in the morning that I thought was hunger. But when you got that pain out of the way, and I could hear my body, and my body said, I don't want to eat right now. I don't want to eat right now. I listened to it, and when it said, I could eat, and I started feeding it, that was the first time that food felt good in an extraordinarily long time.
Wow, that is so positive. And Jeanette, I have really loved working with you.
Thank you.
And I've loved working with you because you moved really fast. You took all the suggestions, you moved super fast through this, and you started hearing yourself again. And that's the one thing that it's really tough in some of the allopathic medicine, because they read a book. Mm-hmm. Everybody's supposed to follow that book, and nobody follows that book. And so then what do you do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they know 100 different little things to do, but they have no idea how to figure out which of those things is right for the person in front of them. Yeah. And I feel like they're throwing darts at a board with no target on it.
Yep. And then they change it up so many times. I get people coming into clinic, and it is, when I talk to them, I'm like, oh my gosh, it sounds like they were doing a shotgun approach, and they couldn't figure out anything. Mm-hmm. People were just completely confused by the time they came into the clinic. Mm-hmm. So, and Jeanette, it sounds like this experience working with Chinese nutrition has really helped you out a lot.
Big time. Yes, very, very much so.
Is it something you'd recommend for other people?
I already have. Here's one for you. We went out with friends last night and found a restaurant. The food was safe to eat and good to
That's
eat.
tough today, isn't it? Well,
Yes, it was very nice, and there was a this was not super local to here, so I couldn't recommend you personally because it would be too long of a drive for the dear man. But our waiter just randomly got to talking to him and found out that he had a lot of similar issues to me.
wow.
And the first thing I told him was go get traditional Chinese medicine. He said, I've heard that. I said, yeah, don't wait around anymore. You've just told me that the allopathic doctors aren't helping you. Go get this medicine. And so, and there were two other people in our lives that we've recommended
Wow.
specifically to you because they live local enough to come up and see you. And I will continue to do that. You can't shut me up about it because I come from medicine. I have a long career in medical billing and 4 nurses on my dad's side of the family. And so medicine is important in my life, but good medicine is what's important. And it's not, allopathic medicine is not working the way that it should. There was a time when allopathic medicine was helpful, but they lost sight of that, and they certainly lost sight of they had some things in common with Chinese medicine, and that they were listening to their patients and trying to find ways to really help, and they lost that, and they need to come back to that. And if they can't find their way, I can't help them. I'm going to go do what works for me, and this works in no uncertain terms.
So, Anjanette, I actually do virtual working sessions. So I do have a lot of clients that work with me from remote locations. So my whole clientele base isn't here. So if your person is comfortable giving a call, because a lot of Chinese nutritional therapy can easily be managed through a virtual working session. Because what do we do when you come in is we work one-on-one talking about your diet and what's happened. And that fits very well in virtual working sessions.
I didn't know that. I'll be glad to do that.
Yeah, in fact, they can even schedule a virtual working session on my website.
Okay. I'll let people know then. Thank you. I didn't know. If I had known that, I'd have told them. I've been handing out your card yesterday.
Wow, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, my own private, billboard is here. But thank you so much, Anjanette. I've really had a lot of fun working with you. You've moved really, really fast. We're talking about 5 weeks where you've gone from being really unbearable pain to now life's manageable. You're happy. You've lost 2 dress sizes.
I did.
Your accident, that's all about starting to eat foods that don't cause insane inflammation in the body.
Yeah.
So it's been really exciting working with you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I am bound and determined to get all the way well. And without your help, I'm not sure how much of a chance I stood. Not a very good one. I floundered a lot, and you gave me help and direction and that jump that I needed to get moving the right way. And that's very, very valuable.
It is really tough. I hear that from a lot of people. I've tried so many things. They say I've tried so many things. There's that frustration that they're working with their allopathic doctor and they don't feel like they're being heard. They're getting sicker. They're pushing meds, and those meds never get less. They always get more. And, it is really tough. And one of the things that I can say to that is, it's the same thing that you experienced. Is you just have to keep on going out there and trying, because if you don't try, you know what the answer is. You fail. And it has taken me, I've probably put 30 years into understanding Chinese nutrition. And that all started with my mom and her cancer.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So anyways, that happened way back when I was in high school.
Wow.
Yeah. What ended up happening She her breast cancer came back. This was in the 70s when, their treatments were so aggressive.
Yeah, they were horrible.
Oh my gosh, they were so aggressive. And she was really tiny, she was like 120 pounds, and she couldn't do it again. And she went to a Chinese medical provider out in Boston,
Uh-huh.
specialized in diet therapy for women's cancers.
Very cool.
Yeah, and that's what she did. She started out at stage 3, HER2 positive. She did no Western medical treatments, and 3 years later, she went to her allopathic doctor, and she was in complete remission. She lived another 40 years. She just passed maybe 4 years ago.
I'm sorry she's gone, but I'm so excited that she had so much time left when people were telling her no.
I know, because they thought when she went back to her doctor, he was positive that she had passed, and she was super healthy. I mean, she could, oh, I had been under a lot of stress, so I'm just going to try and give myself an excuse here. But I was walking with her, and she was out walking me. So I wasn't really impressed with that for myself. And I'm like, oh, I've got to get back into better health.
Uh-huh. That's great. That's wonderful. I'm so glad that worked for her, and I have no doubt it can work for other people too. I mean, I'm walking, talking proof, because I can't imagine. I don't even want to know what they would tell me now. After the last doctor told me I had gastroesophageal, 20 minutes proselytizing, you have gastroesophageal reflux disease. This happens to women your age, and the next day I had to be transported by ambulance to the hospital with cholecystitis. So yeah,
Did he diagnose you without doing any tests?
yeah, that's what all 3 of the doctors, actually 2, the third one didn't even bother to try to diagnose anything. That's its own hideousness, but yeah.
You're right. And that's one of the other things that makes it really, really tough is they're diagnosing. I mean, they have all these tests that they do to validate, yet a lot of the people that are coming into clinic, they've got this diagnosis with no background tests to validate it.
Yeah, it's really common, and it drives me up the wall. Again, I dealt with medicine for a long time, and so to see people doing medicine without doing any of the homework, without doing any of the diagnostics, they're just guessing, and the guesses aren't even good ones. And by comparison, I go to see the previous doctor, and you take a look at my tongue, check my pulses, and you tell me things that I didn't really want to mention. And I can still remember seeing I won't mention the one thing because it really is kind of an embarrassment for me, but the previous doctor, I'd go in and he'd look at me and say, "You've been eating too much sugar." And I just have to hang my head and said, "Yes, doctor, I ate too much sugar this week. I'm sorry."
Yep. It's amazing what you can tell. But I think you're hitting it on the head is they're making these wild guesses. Where in Chinese medicine, East Asian medicine, we are taught from day one to look at the body, to hear their voice, just to notice everything.
Yes.
And, when I was growing up, that's what allopathic doctors used to do. They actually used to notice things.
Yes.
And we used to have, he just retired maybe 4 years ago, but we had a doctor that had practiced here for like 30 years, and he noticed everything. And I trusted him with my mom. So, but they don't do that anymore. They don't teach. In fact, I'm hearing that they're not even going to teach anatomy in Western medicine anymore because it might not be important to know where your heart is.
Oh, okay. Hold on. That's a headache right there. Not a physical one, just emotionally my head just went, no.
Yeah.
That's sad because I taught medical billing and coding for over a year, and you know what the big important thing to teach was? Anatomy.
Anatomy. Yeah, very much so. It's
I,
important to know where things are.
yeah. Something else I'll throw into the ring that I've noticed, and this is not all doctors. I'm going to preface this strongly. You know, everybody's an individual, and this is not all allopathic doctors, but I have dealt with a number of those, and I've dealt with you're one of two that I've worked with personally, but I have known more than a few TCM doctors and quite a few regular allopathic doctors. And one big thing I noticed the difference is the ego. It doesn't
Yeah.
exist in TCM, but the big reason I got such a terrible diagnosis that last time was the man's ego. His ego was more important than my life, health, and safety. And you see that too much in modern medicine now, where when you don't see it, you can get a really good allopathic doctor. Those are the ones,
Yeah.
the rare few that still care and observe and you matter. But I think the reason they just throw darts at the targetless board is because they're just there to make themselves look good. And I'm not getting that from the traditional Chinese medicine community. You explained to me one day that the Chinese medicine doctor's job is to keep the patient healthy, and if the patient's not healthy, you failed.
Right.
And it really, that attitude of my patient is having my patients all be healthy is what makes me valuable, and it really shows.
Thanks. You know, I do really do follow that. And
Mhm.
I realize that, you know, everybody cannot be this premium health, but what is healthy for one person is going to be different for another person. And
Mhm.
just getting them to a place where they can start participating in life again and feel good about their life. I mean, that to me is really important. And then there's some people like you who just will keep on taking it further and further.
Yeah, I like to run them up too much, so I need the extra help. But you're right. It is a matter of perspective. It's what do you want to do that gives your life meaning, and being able to do those things. And if giving your life meaning is being able to take a good walk in the park every Saturday with your family and just feeling good on a routine basis, that's 98% of the battle right now, is just feeling good on a routine basis. And when you need the extra energy because you want to do something or you need to do something, to have that available, yeah, it's going to be a little different for everybody, but it's important that people work to get what makes them happy in
Yep.
the way of good health.
I appreciate hearing that because I agree with you.
Thank you.
Well, and Jeanette, that is what I wanted to talk to you about. I really appreciate you taking the time to sit here and chat.
Glad to do it.
Thank you. Wow. What a great conversation with Ann Jeanette. So if you're ready to take the next step and you want to reach out and work with me, you know what? I am going to offer you a free coaching call. And there should be a link up in the corner of this video, or it'll be in the video description below. Just click on that link and schedule yourself for a free coaching session where you can figure out what your key health goal is, what's stopping you from getting there, what you can do to change that, and what your next steps are. Okay, until next time, I'll catch you on the other side.